The lion, where he's in Judah asleep. I wonder who will wake him, bring him to his feet. Speak now, or forever hold your peace. There's a lion, where he's in Judah asleep. I wonder who will wake him, bring him to his feet. Speak now, or forever hold your peace.
Greetings, I'm George Boston Ryan with the Get To Free Press, and I am endeavoring to educate you concerning the Georgia's vote suppression hitman, the new movie by Palast called Vigilante. This is part 2 of 2 video that I've put together concerning trailers from the Vigilante, as well as other information covering parts of the state of Georgia where I have gone and investigated people, elected officials that were black, that have been mistreated and removed from office, some of them. And I want you to hear what Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. Again, this is part 2 of 2. Don't miss part 1. Peace be unto you and enjoy the movie. These are the Quitman 10. This is what I do.
After 4 years of prison over their heads, the Quitman 10 were acquitted of every charge.
So much stress was on those people. Lula Smart even considered taking her own life.
With all the indictment that I had, in my mind, I thought, well, if I just commit suicide, this will be over.
Another suffered from lupus.
Natasha Head, she died, and I interviewed her father, and he said that he believed that his daughter's death was a result of the stress and pressure brought about by Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp. We sent this all the way up to Washington, D.C. Let me get back to this. Go ahead. Come on, sis.
Powers taken, did they take those powers with the approval of the state of Atlanta? Because I think that whenever they change government law, whether it's a mixed farm area type government or city manager, I thought that the state of Georgia, you have to go through a process. You just can't do it arbitrarily.
Well, you have to go through the state legislators, and what I'm dealing with, however, is an incompetent council. They don't know that they're supposed to do that, and I've advised them that that is the procedure, but with them getting illegal advice from our city attorney, they feel that they're doing the right thing, but no, they haven't gotten any kind of, they think they can do it by local act, and it's clearly in the state law that you can't do it by a local act, nor resolution, nor ordinance.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the same person I've been asking some of the other mayors. How do you feel that they are treating you as a mayor among your own council?
I'm totally being disrespected. I have the city clerk, city manager, the council. They'll come in and they'll tell me, Mayor, you don't have power to do this. And I've had the new city manager to come in and snatch bank books away from me as I try to look in them to make sure that everything has a paper trail, and they've given him the authority to.
I again was doing what I do, talking to people everywhere I see them at. Hey, have you voted?
Ms. Pearson?
Yeah. Not everybody likes that I'm doing it.
Olivia Pearson's mother led the county's NAACP.
My mother sued the city of Douglas to get more representation on the city council.
After years of registration drives, Olivia became the first black woman to win election to the council.
When I received the letter in 2016 from the Secretary of State signed by Brian Kemp,
Kemp used his power as head of the state election board to have Olivia charged with the felony crime of interfering with voters.
I could have served up to 5 years in prison. So it was very, very, very frightening. It was very depressing. I had to go and receive counseling to help me to cope with it. It was horrendous.
A jury quickly found her not guilty because, as it turned out, disabled voters had filled out the official forms requesting her help.
They had the handcuffs around my back, my hands to the back. I couldn't get into the car with them like that. I was in excruciating pain.
The New York Times wrote that Olivia's case made Brian Kemp a pioneer of present-day voter suppression.
The young lady that I was with at the time, she told me, she said, "Miss Olivia, I don't even want to vote. After all of this, I don't want to vote anymore. I don't want to do it." And I had to beg her and explain to her that that's what they're doing it for, is to cause people to be afraid to exercise the right to vote.
I hope Greg Palast will go and investigate all these cities. And while you're at it, because most of these cities, the reason when blacks come into power, they start trying to account for the money. And that's where the trouble starts. That's where the trouble starts. Many of these mayors have expressed to me that the auditors who come in once a year don't give thorough audits. It's like as if though they are part of a system and they know what to do to cook the books. Now, you don't believe me? Listen to my videos. Go to Gordon and listen to some of their videos where the finance chair by the name of Terry Reese say a city with less than 3,000 people had 19 banking accounts. He didn't know how much money was in the accounts, and he was the finance chair. He said that some of these accounts need to be audited and closed. He talked about the $1.5 million that he could not account for. See, when you start asking the right questions to tear down that old system against the tax base, you run into problems like this. And the strange thing about it, GMA, the governor, attorney general, they don't get involved. I guess they say it's too corrupt. But these people, they can't get nobody. CNN won't come down here and investigate them. No TV station, not a one, will come down and sit with the Quitman 10+2, then go to Meigs, then go to Lumpkin, then go to Camilla, Georgia, then go to Dawson, Georgia, then go to Gordon, then leave Gordon and go to Davisboro, leave Davisboro and go to Telfair County. In Telfair County, I'm only talking about the voting process. I'm not talking about the finance, because I didn't investigate that. Then go to Warrenton, then go to Willacoochee, then go to Broxton, Georgia, then and they're like, they won't do that. But I have done it all. And I've tried my best to send it across to all the news media outlets in the United States of America. And yet these people still catch hell on the backside of heaven.
In one meeting.
Thing about it, GMA, the governor, attorney general, they don't get involved. I guess they say it's too corrupt. But these people, they can't get nobody. CNN won't come down here and investigate them. No TV station, not a one, will come down and sit with the Quitman 10+2, then go to Meigs, then go to Lumpkin, then go to Camilla, Georgia, then go to Dawson, Georgia, then go to Gordon, then leave Gordon and go to Davisboro, leave Davisboro and go to Telfair County. In Telfair County, I'm only talking about the voting process. I'm not talking about the finance, because I didn't investigate that. Then go to Warrenton, then go to Willacoochee, then go to Broxton, Georgia, then and they're like, they won't do that. But I have done it all. And I've tried my best to send it across to all the news media outlets in the United States of America. And yet these people still catch hell on the backside of heaven.
From his very first year as Georgia's voting chief, Brian Kemp literally ordered armed seizures. He sent the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Georgia's own version of the FBI, to Quitman, Georgia, to arrest 10 newly elected members of the school board. The first black members on the board, arresting teachers, including 2 PhDs. Kemp accused them of stuffing tampered ballots into mailboxes. That same old accusation as in 2000 Mules. Kemp had them paraded in handcuffs and orange suits like they were terrorists at Guantanamo. Local journalist George Boston Ryans has closely tracked the case.
I'm George Boston Ryans, and I'm in Quitman, Georgia. And I am immediately, just got down here. These are the Quitman 10. This is what I do.
After 4 years of prison over their heads, the Quitman 10 were acquitted of every charge.
So much stress was on those people. Lula Smart even considered taking her own life.
With all the indictment that I had, in my mind, I thought, well, if I just commit suicide, this will be over.
Another suffered from lupus.
Latasha Head, she died. And I interviewed her father, and he said that he believed that his daughter's death was a result of the stress and pressure brought about by Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp.
Do the mayor the way he wants.
That's typical in every city that I've recorded. In most cases, the attorney does not work with these black mayors. They work against the black mayors. Then when they bring these black elected officials up on charges, the city attorney work against them, not for them. They have to go out and get their own attorney just to stay out of jail and prisons. According to what you will hear on my other videos for the cities that I've named, you will hear them say, I had to fight my own attorney. They also say that when whites was in these positions, they didn't have to go through all of this. But you know, it's a sad thing that we can want our black folk and white people to go out and vote and ensure they got ID and can get to the polls. But who gonna speak up for after that person is voted into office, and then y'all say to hell with them? Nobody in the state of Georgia that I know of will go to all these cities and try to assist these people. These people are in pain, man.
Under the Voting Rights Act of 1965 specifically, it's a felony and it's punished by high fines, but also imprisonment. The Republican Party has done this in the past. They will get the addresses of the black voters in a particular state. Then they will mail certified letters to each of those homes. And if the voter is not there at the time that the letter is delivered to accept delivery, the post office will automatically send that letter back to the sender, which in this case is the Republican National Committee. If the letter comes back, the Republican National Committee uses that letter as presumptive evidence that the voter gave a false address on his voting form and is therefore ineligible to vote.
Go to Iraq, lose your vote, mission accomplished. Caging, it's effective, it's illegal, it's Rove.
in one meeting that I attended, correct me if I'm wrong, even the attorney seemed to be against you, or the previous attorney. Explain a little bit about your attorney situation in Meigs.
Yes, the attorney is totally against me, and actually he's the one who started this. He's the one who advised them on how to get the council, how many council members would have to vote to take my power, and he wrote up a bogus ordinance, and on the ordinance it's giving me probably about four different sets of powers, but the executive powers I don't have. And that's what he wanted them to do anyway, because he knew that I was going to change some positions and titles within the office because it wasn't being administered correctly.
Is it in your written documents of your charter that a person who governs in the city of Meigs, do they have to live in that city?
They do.
Have you ever had it wherein someone might have served in your city and they did not live there? If so, who was that person?
Well, actually, our city manager, when we had a city management form of government before the strong mayor, the city manager had to live within the city. Didn't have to live in the city before he was appointed, but after the appointment, he has a certain amount of time to move to the city. And none of our administrators live within the city of Meigs. Nobody who works in our city hall lives in the city of Meigs.
What about the chief of police? What about the police department? Do you get support from them, or how do they interact with you as the new elected black mayor?
Well, the chief of police that I hired in and I appointed to that position, the previous city manager who resigned, she terminated him because he supported me. And then after that...
What was his name?
His name was Edward Ross. And after that, the council had, I guess, an interview session that I wasn't invited to. And they hired the chief of police that she wanted to hire. And I guess he was instructed not to say anything to me, not to talk to me.
So there's hostilities, or there is dissension among you and your law enforcement chief?
Yes. And not that I choose for it to be like that, but it's like they feel that with this power struggle, but as I've informed them, I'm not the one that's trying to take advantage of my power. And but what their problem is, they're wanting the power. They want to do what, when, and how they want to, like it had been done. And they know that I want them to be accountable for their actions and paper trail with everything. And they don't want that.
So you didn't call him, but you challenged his right to vote or have his ballot challenged?
No ballot. Mr. Chairman, you have been challenged.
Is this an attempt to remove a lot of Democrats, black people from voting?
Get out of my house now.
Law enforcement is going to their houses and places of employment and making people afraid to go out and exercise their rights.
And today to come out and not be able to vote, it bothers me to my core.
My life is on the line. I could go to prison. If I just commit suicide, this will be over.
Stop voter fraud.
They raided a voter registration office and tried to send all of these college kids to jail.
Call our voter fraud hotline.
Tonight, Governor Kemp has signed a controversial election bill. He signed Senate Bill 202.
If you go back to the bill signing, you will see Governor Kemp sitting under a painting of a plantation.
Time to do something. If we don't get it back in November.
Brian Kemp is preparing to ban books.
so you can win this election?
Because I'm kind of familiar with your city there, but I do want you to say to the people who hear you, they probably would like to know what's your salary as the mayor of the city of Meigs, since didn't you have to go to court?
I did.
Okay, and you've been given a couple trespass warnings, I believe.
I have.
And I believe your mother became sick or ill. We don't know what could have contributed to that. And you've been sick yourself. But my question to you is that, where do you think all this going to end?
I hope it soon ends. Well, the first time I was arrested, it was on a defamation of character and stalking charge. The previous mayor, she thought that that was going to be a way for me not to be elected. And then after I defeated her, it even got worse. She tried to get the administrators to keep me from going into the office, but I've been exonerated.
Notice.
Hello, I'm Martin Sheen, and you are about to see a horror movie. It's about how bloodthirsty vampires have sunk their fangs into our democracy through voter suppression. It's called Vigilante, and it follows investigative reporter Greg Palast as he exposes how Georgia Governor Kemp and his posse have succeeded in blocking the right to vote of more than 250,000 American citizens of color. Suppressing the right to vote is not limited to Georgia by any means. It's spread to Arizona and Texas and Michigan, and it's coming to a state near you. And so is this film. It took a great deal of courage for Greg Palast to expose voter suppression, and you can join this heroic effort by going to SaveMyVote2022.org. And remember, one heart with courage is a majority. Thank you.
Try to keep her out of office. Now, I'm going to have to go and let you all listen to the 3 mayors that are sitting with her on this same day. And I want you all to listen to those 3 mayors because they pretty much treated them the same way. That's why I think that there's an unwritten or there's a written law among certain white people and some black folk to do this to these black elected officials. But the sad thing about it is that they have nobody to publish their story or to come in and assist them, or to provide financial support for them to get an attorney. And my heart pains me to know that these people are going through this, and they are Democrats. The Democratic Party don't give a damn. And that's why when they go into some of these rural areas, these black folk will tell you, they don't come to us when we need them. Our mayor's suffering, and they didn't show up. So we ain't gonna support them. I got video on that too. A group of people came together in Sylvester. I'm gonna let y'all listen to that before it's over.
From those charges, and then by April of last year, the new manager that I hired, she said I threatened her, and all those charges were not prosecutable. They didn't. It was like 16 months, and they didn't have enough. After all those months, they still couldn't come up with any evidence that I was guilty on any charges, so it was thrown out.
Okay, I have seen, since I've been doing this for over a year, I see the same identical thing happening to other mayors, black mayors, and I understand I got a phone call from a white mayor, and so it may not all be about race, it may be about change. There may be a possibility that people have been locked into a system of not following the law for so long until they think that that's the way it should be carried on. Now, I understand what got me over in your area, and I'm gonna back up a little bit further. What got me in your area was that I read and saw on TV in the Valdosta area something that took place in your in City Hall. That's right. I was working the Equipment 10+2 case, and I was working the Madison, Florida 9 case. Then it came on 6 o'clock news that she was talking about voodoo. That's why I'm asking that question. They said she was putting down voodoo, and they plastered that all on TV stations to put that in our mind, what kind of person is she. I guess they try to show that she was a Satanist or something. So that's why I asked her this question here. about you and some voodoo and stuff like that. I don't want to go into it that much, but that was also false. Am I correct?
That was false. Yes, and even one of the city clerk who worked in the office with me, she explained that there was some kind of reversal stuff that she even had in there. It was supposed to get away evil spirits, and it just got twisted some kind of way.
Okay, now I'm
Newly released video shows a Republican county official escorting people inside a South Georgia election office on the same day that county's election system was allegedly breached. The video raises a number of questions, including why they allegedly copied the voting software and whether it will compromise the election 8 weeks from today. 11 Live's Doug Richards has more on why this matters.
Well, Jennifer, for about as long as there has been computerized voting, critics have said that it's vulnerable to hackers. This video seems to show evidence of how that can happen. The video shows a local Republican leader named Kathy Latham at the Coffee County, Georgia election office, holding open the door and allowing in several people who stayed inside for hours with access to the county's computerized voting system.
And they just let them in, said come on in, and they copied everything. And then after they copied everything, they took it back and they put it onto the internet for other people to make copies of.
Bruce Brown represents plaintiffs who have for the last 4 years challenged the state's Dominion election computers in court, arguing along with numerous tech experts that computerized election systems are vulnerable to hackers. And Brown says this video shows the hackers who made images of Coffee County's system in January 2021. Folks, he says, were likely hired by Trump attorney Sidney Powell. Though the 2020 election is settled, Brown says the hack in Coffee County threatens Georgia's upcoming election.
People got in there and made forensic copies of the entire suite of election software that is used statewide. And so it's a big concern because now copies of that software have been made available to any number of people anywhere in the world.
Brown says the state can fix this because state law allows the state to sideline computerized voting and switch to hand-marked paper ballots for this coming election. The state officials have fought to keep computerized voting, which the state paid hundreds of millions of dollars to acquire, and which they say voters like using. State officials have told us they are investigating, though no comment from them today.
Doug, thank you.
All right, I'm standing here in front of the federal courthouse in Washington, D.C., and inside is the first jury trial that was brought forth by...
I don't want to leave you because there's at least 4 more points on it. Number one, because Mayor Ann Whipperlew of Gordon, Georgia, have had a superior court judge to try to totally just remove from office, circumventing the votes of the voters in Georgia. So have you ever been removed from your office? Have you ever been locked out of your office or anything along those lines?
Well, they've tried to remove me, but I know, and they know as well, that the elected people will have to remove me unless if I violated some of the reasons for this for removal. They can't remove me, but they have locked me out of my office, taken my computer, my phone, taken all that stuff away. And at one point, at the beginning of last year, I couldn't go in the office because the previous manager was still working there, and she had taken a warrant out on me, so I couldn't be around her. But she resigned. I had some supporters that, just told her that, hey, look, we want our mayor in here, and you got to go.
They put a restraining order on her. They put a restraining order on Mayor Ann Whipperlew. Put a restraining order on the mayor in Douglas, Georgia. I'm telling y'all, this is a white pattern and practice that I have documented. But maybe one day somebody will do what Greg Palast has done and go into these places. And they really don't have to go. They could just ask me for the original copies of my video with the phone number of all these people. They don't even have to call me. I don't have to be there. I don't want to be there. These people are willing, able, capable, educated enough to sit down and talk to the Secretary of State, if he cared, or the Attorney General, or Secretary of State, wherever they may come from. It's sad.
And
Join KPFA for a special movie night on Wednesday, October 19th at 7 p.m. at the Grand Lake Theater in Oakland. We're going to be showing Greg Palast's new film, Vigilante, Georgia's vote suppression hitman, narrated by Rosario Dawson. After the movie, KPFA's Dennis Bernstein will be hosting a live Q&A with Greg Palast. So go to gregpalast.com to get your tickets now. gregpalast.com to see his latest film, Vigilante, Georgia's vote suppression hitman, narrated by Rosario Dawson. On Wednesday, October 19th at 7 p.m. at the Grand Lake Theater in Oakland. So go to gregpalast.com to get your tickets now. gregpalast.com to see his latest film, Vigilante, Georgia's vote suppression hitman, on Wednesday, October 19th at 7 p.m.
And I've heard a couple of things about why she had to leave, you know, because they got so mad they followed her and told her don't come back to our town anymore. But anyway, that was the first time, but I've been taken out of my office twice. The most recent one was 2 weeks ago.
That's the one I came over on, and I understand your newly elected city council, Miss Bradley?
Stephanie Battle.
She's new to, how long has she been in office?
She's been in office since May of last year.
Okay, so it seems as if though it just don't stop, huh?
It doesn't stop. And anytime a council member or the mayor is trying to make them accountable and ask questions of why you're doing this, why you're doing that, let us see this, then there's a problem. Okay. And the reason why she had issues with them is because her and I we had planned a meeting to look over December's transactions, and apparently something's going wrong. They don't want they're guilty on something, they didn't want us to see it. And she went in there after some things had been redacted that the manager had given me. She found out, she saw it, and she went in there to ask for the missing copies. And
missing copies, same thing in every city. It's all about the money. And these taxpayers don't no more know how these people are spending their money than a duck know about flying a 747. And they just go along, nobody asks a question. You got many black folk, we will witness them, they are voting in the office on the council or on the commission, they just sit there like dummies. They don't know what the hell going on, just occupying space. Don't speak up on none of the real issues. Whatever they do, they like robots. When they tell them to read it, I abstain. They done give them the order when they say abstain. These black folks abstain. What you abstain about? They don't know what the hell they abstain for. They just
copies of things that hadn't been blackened out, and the manager told her, well, I told the mayor she wasn't getting it, and you're not getting it either. And then the police chief came in there, and he says, Sid, if you tell me to arrest her, I'll arrest her. And that's what happened.
Okay. Well, how was this new chief elected? I mean, how did you all come about getting him, number one? And then I want to go back to Ross.
Well, he was elected by a three-party committee, by the police committee, the chairman, and two other council members. It never went before a quorum to appoint him as the city chief. And from my understanding, anything that goes in that's law to the city has to be signed by the mayor. And the mayor, I haven't signed anything. So I didn't hire him as chief. And at one point he wanted me to swear him in, and I told him that I was going to get with the council on that. And to this day, I don't know who swore him in.
So once again, we see that Georgia seems to be a state without laws.
Right.
Now,
this is under Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp, former Governor Nathan Deal, and apparently current governor, Attorney General Sam Olens, and as well as GMA. Nobody seemed to care. And in Gordon, they tried to get the G.B.R. Yeah, they wrote the G.B.R. to come in to investigate the money in Gordon. Who cares about it?
Let's get back to Chief Rawls. I met him, first of all, before we get to him, Jimmy Layton, who is a white brother. I noticed that he supports you. In fact, when they locked you out of your office,
Do you defeat voter suppression tactics when it's fueled by billionaires' cash and partisan power? the same way the Voting Rights Act was first won 50 years ago.
One side literally had everything. They had all of the laws and lawmen, they had all of the guns, they had all of the banks and money, and the other side didn't have anything. But yet, we took marching feet, we took singing songs, and we took praying prayer, and was able to forge a great victory.
The Voting Rights Act was won here on this bridge over the Alabama River when Reverend Martin Luther King came to the town of Selma, Alabama.
And so I marched the last leg of the Selma to Montgomery March with about 35,000 other people. And what I remember so graphically was Dr. King saying, how long? And eventually the crowd was saying, not long.
They introduced Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Everybody got quiet, and he was telling our parents how it was time for them to get the right to vote. When we got to the top of the bridge, then you could really see what was on the other side. And there were white people sitting on their cars with their Confederate flags and their banners, Die Nigger and Go Home Coon. I heard these pops, pop, pop, pop. This gas came, and with this gas you couldn't breathe, you couldn't see. I ran into this big old thing of tear gas, and he was running behind me with the billy club kind of thing. When I woke up, they had me on a stretcher, putting me in the back of a hearse. I just jumped up, and before anybody could catch me, I was heading back across that bridge.
Judy was older than me, so if I was 11, she had to be like 12, maybe going on 13, I think. And she starts walking. Nobody's gonna stop me from getting my freedom. And soon as she said freedom, one of the troopers hit her, and blood just went everywhere. And I mean, I was just in horror. Different people in the group would just strike out and start singing, and then others would join in. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. That was the hope. That was the hope of that song. That was the hope of that time. We shall
Let me back this back a little bit. I think we missed something there.
Opportunity to have a hearing.
But he had support of the community, am I correct?
He did. In fact, they had a protest about it, a huge protest for like 2 days.
Okay, as we get ready to bring this to a close, what got into your city? How did metal detectors get inside of city council meetings? I mean, did something happen for them to scan you before you come into the meeting? They always do it. I'm just asking the question because I get scanned when I go. I just want to know, where did that start?
Well, it started last year. I think before I was elected as mayor, the previous mayor thought that she was her life was threatened or something. She said in the paper that she had to have bulletproof vests, and that's something that was implemented during her time, just for safety. And I really don't have a problem with that, with everything happening now at the council meetings. But yeah, they're checking.
Now, what about the compliance with the Sunshine and the Open Records Law? I have been there several times, and they they have a sign posted. You have one of them was 70-some people outside, and there was a notice posted saying there will be no council meeting. And I think, did you know anything about that?
I didn't know anything about it, and on that particular day, we had the sheriff Powell from Thomasville there, and he was very upset about it. But they didn't even let him in. But I'm quite sure there were consequences and repercussions about that. I don't know about it, and from my understanding, there's a police investigation.
Okay. Now, if you had an opportunity to call anybody in the state of Georgia or in the United States, who would you call and what would you ask for?
Well, this thing that I'm going through is very big. I wish President Obama could be here, but he's tied up. Just want whoever's going to come down here and get some results. Go in, do an investigation. There are several analysts that we can get to go in there and to make them accountable. For everybody to get together, be on one accord, know their role, because we have council members that don't know their roles.
You hear that? Don't know their roles. And without exception, you don't have to ask anybody. If you go to the meeting, it won't take you long to find out that most of your council members, they go to training with GMA, but it is as if though they don't know what in the hell going on. Most of them are not even familiar with their local charter. They're just sitting there like puppets. And when it gives the appearance, and I've interviewed people, very few people want to talk because they're fearful. I don't know why they're so afraid of their government. But they'll tell you off the camera that they all seem like Black Sambos and Aunt Janes and won't stand up for the people who voted them into office. Without exception, I hear people say the white councilmen and the white mayors, they all support each other in their communities. But there's a breakdown when it comes down to the CDGB grant money, the contracts and paving of roads and streets and sidewalks. It's a problem.
Here in Savannah and all over Georgia, 550,000 voters have simply vanished. This is Greg Palast.
500,000 voters disappeared in the night.
Who buried the rights of 1 in 10 voters?
I own guns that no one's taken away.
This man.
I'm Brian Kemp. I'm so conservative, I blow up government spending.
Brian Kemp, as Secretary of State, has the power to eliminate voters' rights.
You've heard about all my guns, my chainsaw, and my truck.
And he has another job.
That's why I was running for governor.
He's running for governor of Georgia with a brand new dog patch accent and a new pickup truck.
I got a big truck, just in case I need to round up criminal illegals and take them home myself.
Kemp's opponent?
Stacey Abrams, daughter of 2 Methodist ministers, believes all Georgia...
And she'd be the first Black woman governor in American history.
Stacey Abrams.
And the race is really close.
At 43%, and Democrat Stacey Abrams also at 43%.
How did Kemp wipe out the registrations of 550,000 voters? He used the postcard trick. Kemp sent out millions of these cards, requiring voters to confirm their addresses. Problem? They look like junk mail. 8 out of 10 voters who get them throw them away. Throw away the card, and Kemp can throw you off the rolls. The trick? Not everyone gets a postcard. Mostly, they go to neighborhoods like this.
This is my neighborhood, and this is where I almost got purged.
Stacy Hopkins is a community organizer.
Give me a hug. Give me a hug, baby. This is also a community that's rapidly changing. It impacts us as a voting community. With all these empty houses, our vote is being lost. Our political power is being lost.
When Kemp sent her a postcard, he picked the wrong target.
I look at these mailers that are telling me and 2 of my children that if we did not fill out these forms and return them, we were going to be moved to the inactive list. But we had just voted. I decided to try and hold Mr. Kemp accountable for that because I wanted to know why he didn't want me to vote. We filed suit against Secretary of State Kemp.
And she won. Big time.
159,000 were restored to the voting rolls, and that was a good feeling.
But what feels bad is that more than 500,000 voters remain on the purge list. We had to threaten Kemp with a federal lawsuit, but he finally gave up the names of every voter he purged. Then we made all the names public. I was flooded with 1,900 emails from Georgians stunned they had lost their right to vote. And I got a call from one, Mr. Mitchell, upset his registration was canceled because this young veteran didn't return that postcard. Like far too many on the purge list, Mitchell is African American. So I asked an expert if he found this racial bias shocking.
It doesn't shock me at all. Response rates are lower among people of color, in particular African American renters.
Mark Sweedland advises companies like American Express and eBay about mailing techniques. Should states be using postcards to find out if people moved?
Postcards are the weakest form of mailers to get a response. If you use that as a basis for determining whether somebody moved or not, you would be making a very big mistake. And by the way, there's really no reason to do this. There are a myriad of commercial systems out there that can tell you, and it will cost you pennies, less than mailing a postcard.
To the nation's top commercial address confirmation expert, John Lenzer.
Well, we took the entire file, we matched it to 200 different sources of data, what we refer to as advanced address hygiene.
He told me the results, and I almost fell out of my chair.
340,000 were still at the original address. Most of the people that didn't return the card, in fact, still reside at the address where they were currently registered to vote. And it was inappropriate to remove them from the voter registration rolls.
Could Georgia have saved these voters' rights?
If the state of Georgia or those states had come to me as a consultant and said, is there a better way of doing this? I would say, you bet there is.
You can't understand what's going on today in Georgia unless you understand that the ancestors of today's voters were first brought to this state in chains and put in these cages. Voting rights attorney, Nseu Vote.
It is much more difficult to vote in Georgia if you are Black or Latino or Asian American or young or poor.
Kemp is the first Georgia Secretary of State who won't resign while running for governor.
That's an inherent, blatant conflict of interest, and it's super problematic.
The voting chief/candidate kept ducking my interview requests, so we simply tracked his campaign bus to noon in Georgia. Kemp's handlers clocked me and told me to leave. But here's a back way in. There's the bus. There he is. I got a couple questions for him. Mr. Kemp, are you removing Black voters from the voter rolls just so you can win this election? Why are you purging voters from the voter rolls? Sir, why aren't you answering my questions? Sir, why do we have to sue you to get the names of voters who've been removed? Why are you... Let me right now, sir. Is there any other reporter being thrown out here?
Sir, he said you specifically.
Looks like I gotta leave because I'm the only reporter that's going to ask Mr. Kemp about the disappearing Black voters. And he doesn't want to answer those questions. Now he'll have to answer because I've joined voting rights groups and sued Kemp to open his files. That's nothing new to the NAACP's Gerald Briggs.
We've had to sue Brian Kemp 4 times in federal court.
I was hoping it changed. I'm in the city of Dr. King. I'm in the city of Reverend Lowry. And to face the same thing that my ancestors faced, it does hurt. And we're better than this. We're supposed to be better than this. Supposed to.
From Georgia, this is Greg Palast reporting.
Step in their authority, and some act like the mayor, want to be the mayor, but they will never be the mayor because, People are not going to elect them as the mayor. But anyway, that's their way of being in there, trying to have the power. And people wonder why everybody's talking about power. One thing about the mayor comes with power. When I ran my campaign, I ran a campaign knowing there was a strong mayor-weak council form of government, and I felt that with my honesty, my integrity, that I could go in and I thought I could change it. But whenever you get the devil into a situation, it's kind of hard to remove him when you've got, several people against you.
Okay, once again, I want you to refresh the people's minds who watch the video. How much do you get along the lines of a salary from Meigs?
Well, I stepped in knowing that it would be a voluntary basis. I didn't know that me stepping in on a voluntary basis, knowing that I had another pretty good paying job, that I would later on lose my job there because I was arrested. And, but yeah.
She was arrested and lost her job. Members of the Equipment 10 plus 2 that served on the Board of Education, the Brooks County Board of Education. Governor Nathan Deere removed them for a year. And after they didn't find any charge, they had to put them back on. There was other people there that had jobs, but some didn't have jobs. They were applying for better jobs. Some of getting out of college, applying for a job. And because they had them felons on their records, they couldn't be employed. After 4 years, all the charges was dropped. All of them was cleared. Latasha Head died from the stress. She was a lupus patient, according to her father. So who pays for that? First trial in Lula Smart case in Quitman was a mistrial. Taxpayers' money lost. Second trial was a mistrial. Taxpayers' money lost. Third trial, she was exonerated, and then all 12 of them was cleared. Look at all that tax money went down the drain for nothing. Bogus voter fraud charges under Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp, and under Governor Nathan Deere, and under Sam Olens, the Attorney General then. Come on, y'all. And people want you to go out and vote, but when these people are elected, nobody see them then. And they still begging for your vote. These rural cities, all of them that I mentioned, and that's not all of them. Georgia need an outside agent, if there is anybody that can do it, and straighten this hellhole out. And if no news media say it, as a retired military veteran who put my life on the line for this country, to return and see human beings suffer like this. Again, that's why my videos now all you see is Vigilante, because I got so much respect for this man and David Ambrose and Michael Sheen and others who are trying to tell the truth, because only the truth gonna set us free. I'm about truth. I don't down nobody. All I want is the truth. And the reason I want truth is because I want the people free, and they cannot be free as long as the news media refuse to tell the truth.
On a voluntary basis, and right now,
I want you to tell me in dollars and cents, how much do you get every month for the work that you do and all that you have endured as far as your family being under stress, etc., as well as yourself? How much money do you get paid every month in dollars and cents?
I get $0.00.
Some people would call you crazy for that.
They would call me crazy. They said, why don't you resign? And after a couple of months, after I had been arrested, I'm like, why should I resign now? I've gone through, I felt like Martin Luther King. I know how he felt. I know how President Obama is feeling right now. Totally being disrespected by your colleagues. People are supposed to be supporting you.
Okay, do you feel that race plays a part in what you're going through?
I wish I could kind of say that it's race, but no.
It's not race.
It's personal vendettas, jealousy that the council members have against me, because I have to look at the fact that only one of the council members voted for me anyway. So they had something against me as I was going in. They knew they had a plan.
She said that she don't think it was about race. Now I'm going to show you where the other two former mayors was talking to Krista Woolen, and she's going to admit that it was about race. You see, it's something about the South. People are afraid to come out and call an apple or orange an orange. But I've gone to many of her meetings, and I know that she had blacks on her council in skin color, but not in intellect and self-love for their own community. You're gonna see all of this. You're gonna see how the black councilman get up and walk out on her. City manager, city attorney, they all walk out on her. It's serious, but who cares?
My last question, again, what is the population for Meigs?
It's about 1,200.
What percentage of black ratio versus
85.
85 black? 85%? Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to put on?
I can give you exactly how many if you want.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
From his very first year as Georgia's voting chief, Brian Kemp literally ordered armed seizures. He sent the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Georgia's own version of the FBI, to Quitman, Georgia, to arrest 10 newly elected members of the school board. The first black members on the board, arresting teachers, including 2 PhDs. Kemp accused them of stuffing tampered ballots into mailboxes. That same old accusation as in 2000 Mules. Kemp had them paraded in handcuffs and orange suits like they were terrorists at Guantanamo. Local journalist George Boston Rhines has closely tracked the case.
I'm George Boston Rhines, and I'm in Quitman, Georgia. And I am immediately, just got down here. These are the Quitman 10. This is what I do.
After 4 years of prison over their heads, the Quitman 10 were acquitted of every charge.
So much stress was on those people. Lula Smart even considered taking her own life.
With all the indictment that I had, in my mind, I thought, well, if I just commit suicide, this will be over.
Another suffered from lupus.
Natasha Head, she died, and I interviewed her father, and he said that he believed that his daughter's death was a result of the stress and pressure brought about by Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp.
Okay, cool.
We want to show Quitman as Africans how we come together in unity and in celebration of those that we support and those that we love. We love the Quitman 12. We love what they're doing in the name of freedom and justice. So we're going to support them. I want everybody on their feet. I want everybody clapping their hands. I want everybody singing.
So you didn't call him, but you challenged his right to vote or have his ballot challenged.
No ballot. Mr. Turner, you have been challenged.
Is this an attempt to remove a lot of Democrats, black people from voting?
Get out of my house now.
Law enforcement is going to their houses and places of employment and making people afraid to go out and exercise their rights.
And today to come out and not be able to vote, it bothers me to my core.
My life is on the line. I could go to prison. If I just commit suicide, this will be over.
Stop voter fraud.
They raided a voter registration office and tried to send all of these college kids to jail.
Call our voter fraud hotline.
Tonight, Governor Kemp has signed that controversial election bill. He signed Senate Bill 202.
If you go back to the bill signing, you will see Governor Kemp sitting under a painting of a plantation.
Time to do something. If we don't get it back in November.
Brian Kemp is preparing to ban books.
Are you removing black voters from the voter rolls just so you can win this election?
Why are we called Negroes? Why are we spiritually deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition? Stripped of our names, our language, our culture, our country, our God, and our religion. Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten through the preacher. And he has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die. But all of the years that we're living, for us there's nothing but hell, pain, torture, and misgiving. Yet the Bible speaks of a heaven filled with material luxury, which the white man and the preacher has right here, so we see. So my friend, take it for what it's worth. Heaven and hell are just two conditions of life, and they're both right here on this earth. So let's check back into history, which rewards our research and tells us plainly that before the white man gained entry to the East,